episode 179, Ironman World Championship with Jarrett Wyatt. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the pursuit of the perfect race. Today I have the pleasure of talking with my good friend Jarrett Wyatt about his recent race experience at the Ironman World Championship in Kona. He was lucky enough to get a legacy slot, and the race this year took place on October 13th, 2018, with the temperature being 72, rising to 82, and the water being 80-ish degrees. He has a lot of information to share and some knowledge about the Big Island experience. Welcome back to the show, Jarrett. I look forward to diving in about your race and spending some more time with you today.
Excellent. It's a pleasure being back on the show.
Awesome, man. So how you been since we talked last time at Boulder?
Things have been a little bit crazy. Still settling in at the new house and actually changed jobs again, believe it or not.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So nothing like, hey, new job. I need 2 weeks off in like a month from starting so I can go do this crazy Ironman race. But everybody there was very, very cool about it, so no problems there.
Wow. So what's your new job then?
I'm switched over to USAA and doing some IT over there, business intelligence, ETL work, moving data around, basically. The fun stuff.
Yeah? Man. So since we talked last time, you got a slot for Kona, and now you got to actually go to Kona. When did you start booking your lodging, travel, getting your bike over there? What did all this logistics look like?
So pretty much the day I got the note that, hey, even though we already told you this year that you're not going to Kona through Legacy, we freed up some spots and you're going. That day, I made sure to book my tri-bike transport. I got on and looked up airline tickets and took care of that because I just didn't want to have the stress on me. And amazingly enough, my coach had reserved space at the Wyndham Kona Hawaiian Resort in the presumption that I was going to get in this year and hadn't canceled it since I had gotten my cancel or my rejection notice this year. So lodging was already taken care of. She's like, oh, good thing I was a little behind on canceling that. So that worked out perfectly.
Wow. So how much was your logistics getting there? Your bike, your travel, your reservation over there at the Wyndham? What does all this look like as far as pricing goes?
Pricing, it was nice because I shared a room with my coach. She brought her husband and I brought my girlfriend, so we kind of divvied it up. Plane tickets were like $750, $800 a person. Rooms was like $350 a night. Shipping the bike over there, it's about $500. But you know what? It's priceless. It was worth it. I mean, things have been a little tight, and didn't expect to go this year. But when they say, "Hey, you get to go to Kona," you make that credit card nice and warm. I could pay it off for the next year. The experience was priceless. I'm not too worried about the financial impact. So.
Wow, that's not even counting how much gear you wanted to buy at the expo.
Oh, they saw me coming. I mean, I'm a big guy, so they don't have too many in extra large size. So we got to the finishers super early, and there was only about 10 people in front of us, and I was like, man, there's a couple big people in line. They better not get my stuff. So we bum rushed that place, and I must say I haven't bought anything Ironman from a race. This was my 15th Ironman. I bought something at my very first one, and I bought, I think, a shirt at my second one. But this is the first one, man. I've been waiting, and the budget was completely gone, man. It was I bought a finisher jacket and a couple of shirts and a nice shirt for work with a collar and some hoodie, and I mean anything that was like there, man. It was in my size. I grabbed it, so I don't regret any of it, man. I mean, like the nice hat I've got on right now. I think I bought 4 hats while I was there. But this is my one shot, and I'm super proud of making it happen, and I feel like I truly earned it, and I'm glad to call myself a Ironman World Championship finisher.
Wow. So since Boulder, you did St. George earlier this year, right? And then you did Boulder. So you're already kind of in the fitness shape of going to a full, because you're already registered for Arizona. And you'll be doing that in a few weeks. And now then you were doing Kona here. As far as your training going into Kona, did you do any specific training that you wanted to make sure that you got under your belt before you went to the Big Island?
I did a lot of hot weather training, which here in the Valley is not a problem, let me tell you. Did some of my runs in the evenings or waited a little later. Usually, in Phoenix, you try to get up, 3:34, get out the door to beat some of that summer heat. But it was nice. I got to sleep into 4:30 sometimes, maybe 5, and purposefully make the bike, more in the heat of the day, or the run in the heat of the day. Just because, after going last year, supporting a couple of my buddies that had qualified, I knew what I was in for at Kona. It's incredibly hot. It's incredibly sweaty. My heart rate was just, phenomenally off the charts while I was there. So I knew what I was in for, and I knew I needed to, just suck it up and, eat up some of that hot weather training. Nice.
So whenever you actually started getting ready for your training to actually get to the bigger portion of your training, what was your biggest weeks going into Kona, and what was your longest swim, bike, and run workouts?
Let's see. There was a couple of 4,000-yard swims, or at least 2 of them. One was a straight through. One I broke up into 1,000-yard chunks. My longest brick workout was the one that I absolutely hate, which was a 100-mile ride followed by a 10-mile run, which I think I got out the door for the run about 11:30, and it was, probably 102, 103 degrees out. So it was a sufferfest. But again, good practice, making sure I'm drinking enough fluids, getting enough electrolytes so I'm not cramping up. There was another week in there where I biked 115, followed by like a 30-minute run. But those are my big ones, and, worked up to 18-mile run. You generally don't do anything more than 18 for my longs. And then, started ramping down about almost 3 weeks out. It was still 2 weeks out was still a little cruddy, but it was much more tolerable. But yeah, started to drop down a little bit, just a hair.
Okay. So going into Kona here, when did you actually want to start traveling to the Big Island?
So one of my biggest fears about going to Kona was the swim. Even though I had, gone out last year and swam, in the bay there, and or was it Digby Beach, and it felt great when I was there, and I didn't have any discomfort. I still had this fear of being just outclassed. I mean, I'm not a front of the pack athlete, and it just, for some reason, it just really stressed me out to be swimming at a mass start again, because I haven't done a mass start Ironman in, I don't know, probably 3-4 years. And I mean, it's a different feeling, and I don't know. I don't swim in the ocean, and I love my wetsuit. So I was really stressed out about the swim. So what we did was we flew in on the 5th because they have that, the Hoala practice swim on the 6th, which is, a week before the race. And it follows the course pretty closely. So you can get a good feel of what it's going to be like. And man, I tell you, I was super stressed out, probably more for that than I was for race day. I just didn't want to swim. I just had this really tough feeling about it. And, I thought it would be super slow, because I didn't have my wetsuit. But let me tell you, it was the best thing I could have done. I would highly recommend anybody who hasn't swam there to get out there a week early, because it was fabulous. I mean, it was a great swim. The water is so clear. I had plenty of people to draft off of. The water temperature felt great. It's so salty. I didn't really miss having the wetsuit at all. And when I came out of there, I had my 3rd best 2.4 mile swim ever, which I had no idea that I was going to swim that well. Which, again, I'm not like a super fast swimmer, so I think it was 1:30 for me. But I had only cracked 1:30 twice before. And again, that was at places with very clear water, which was really nice, but I had a wetsuit on. So I was super, super excited and glad that I came in a week early and did that. It gave me a lot of confidence for the swim and for race day. I did, tell everybody, hey, don't expect that on race day. I'm not going to push that hard. It's going to be a little crazier. But I was real happy I wasn't even close to being the last one out of the water, which is, again, one of my fears. But it was great. I was super happy I went there, got out there a week early. I knew I needed to acclimate a little bit to the humidity, and that was a great start, even though it was, fly over, get off, get to the hotel, get up early the next morning, and do this crazy swim. But totally recommend it for anybody that's going that hasn't swam there, that has any kind of fear of that.
Wow. So, being that this is your third time on, if you're listening and you want to know more about Jarrett's life work balance, more about his training, more about his coach, Cheryl Miller, all of that, you can reference his earlier episodes where we talk about St. George and Boulder. But we're just going to skip that portion, being that you've been on a few times. We don't really need to go into so much of the nutrition side. I know you're going to be using Red Bull and gummy bears here too. So we'll just dive into all that fun stuff.
Well, what's funny is, I seem to recall chatting with you before the race, and you said, I don't know if those gummy worms are going to work over there for you. And I had to make a race day change, man. It kind of stressed me out because it's so humid. Everything was sticking together. So yeah, if you want to talk about a little bit, on the bike, how the nutrition changed, but
yeah, sure.
I did get some gummy worms in, and of course I had to throw a bike jersey on, because I had to bring my Red Bull, but, I did not know that they handed out full cans of icy cold Red Bull on the course on the bike there.
Oh,
I was not aware.
Really?
Yes. And they also hand out full 16-ounce bottles of Coke with a sport top on them. I've never seen that in any other race. It was awesome. So if you need a Coke on the bike, it was there. It was pretty cool.
Okay, so apparently other people that I've interviewed so far has been holding out. They haven't been telling me this.
Oh no, I was in heaven, man. Because I had my 3 cans in the back, but they're nice and warm and toasty, and that was icy cold. I was in heaven when I saw that. And, just crack that sucker down, and that made me feel wonderful. And because I couldn't pound on the gummy worms like I normally do, I made the call to go ahead and just start drinking heavily on the Gatorade Endurance. Normally I'm more of I'll drink water and, have some kind of concentrated like Heat or Scratch or something, whatever I've got around the house. I don't really have a sensitive stomach in my main bottle and, sip on that. But, I was telling myself, man, I got to get the calories in and I got to make sure I've got plenty of, electrolytes. So I just, every aid station, which is totally unlike me, I pounded a bottle of Gatorade Endurance. And it was a good choice for me. It really worked. I felt great coming off the bike for probably the first time, and it's my 15th Ironman, and it was pretty amazing. So I think maybe I'll start drinking some more Gatorade Endurance on the course, maybe laying off some of the gummy worms.
Wow! So on this bike ride, how many calories per hour were you willing to get?
I was, generally I like to get 350 to 400, and I think with the minimal amount of gummy worms I had, plus my Red Bull, plus the Gatorade Endurance, I was hitting pretty close. The aid stations were about every half hour or so. So I was pounding down a bottle, and I think they're about 180 a bottle. So I was getting there pretty close and getting plenty of endurance electrolytes out of it.
Okay.
I was still hitting my concentrated nastiness that was in my main bottle, but just because out of habit, every 15 minutes you just take a sip of it. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the Gatorade Endurance, I must say.
Wow. So to kind of get back to the mass start and your fear of the swim here, you said that you had this fear of being outclassed. Is this kind of like an imposter syndrome of you really don't belong, but you want to do this and be a part of this community?
Oh, absolutely. It's not hard to go find some negative things about, doing legacy, just like there was about doing the lottery in the past. I felt, a little bit like I didn't belong there, like I didn't earn it. I didn't Kona qualify. And I was really worried going there that people are going to hound me and give me grief about it. And it was all in my head, because everybody was really cool. But I just felt like I was outclassed. I didn't really belong there. Everybody was going to be super far in front of me. I was going to be, totally at the back, and it was brought on by me, nobody else. It's just me in my head, being, a little stressed out about it. And, but ultimately, I didn't have a single person, give me any grief, qualify, tell them legacy. And, everybody that talked to me was really cool about that, it's not hard to tell. I mean, when you're at an island full of incredibly fit people that, somebody that's a little heavier, then they probably didn't qualify the normal route. But it was good because I truly wasn't outclassed. I mean, there were people behind me. I wasn't dead last in my age group, and I don't know why I really cared anyway, because for me, going to Kona and just crossing the finish line was the dream. I wanted to make sure no matter what, I crossed that finish line. I wasn't going for a particular time or anything. After all this work, 8 years of trying to get there, I was very conservative. I, went super conservative on the bike. I think I targeted like a 65% intensity factor, which is a little lower than I normally would go, just, knowing that it's Kona and, generally it's very hot and humid and you're going to have to, work a little harder. I was totally blessed by Pele on the day though, because the crazy wind wasn't there for me. So it was kind of nice. The bike course wasn't as challenging as I expected. I think I had just built it up in my head so much that it was going to be terrible and super hard. And it's not like super easy either, but I've done, far more difficult bike courses. And again, I think I can say that because I didn't have to deal with, crazy amounts of wind that were, pushing you around and, making you worried. But, being a bigger guy, it doesn't push me around as much as some of the smaller people too. So, maybe there was a little bit there, but I didn't really feel it because, I was just on a super high all day.
Right. So just to kind of back up a little bit, you traveled out there on the 5th and you left on what day?
On the 16th, on the evening of the Tuesday after the race.
Okay. So you were out there for almost 2 full weeks.
Yeah. Wow. It was maybe a few days too long. I'm kind of a homebody, but it was wonderful. We did, everything that we could do on the island. We drove all around and went up to Mauna Kea and, did all the touristy things, that you should do while you're there. But it was fun. I had a blast. Nice.
So to fast forward through the whole week and into the actual Ironman village of checking in here at Kona, what was this like for you, and what was your interpretation of the Ironman village? I mean, you've done countless other Ironmans. How did this one stack up?
The village, I think over time, it's kind of gone down a little bit. It's kind of sad. It seems like, when I first got into the sport, the village was a little bigger and a lot more swag and everything. And, things are a little tighter now. And, don't get me wrong, the Ironman village at Kona is second to none. There's, quite a bit of vendors. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of really cool, triathlon celebrities there. But it doesn't super impress me anymore. Maybe that's just because I'm a little jaded and I've been to a bunch of them or what. But, I would have loved to have seen Specialized have a little more of a presence out there. That's my ride.
And they introduced a new bike out there.
They did. They had the new Shiv, which I'll be honest with you, brother. I ride a Shiv and I love it. And the first time I saw it, I fell in love with it and I knew I was going to buy that bike. And I look at this new Shiv and I hope you grow on me because you are one ugly baby. So I think I'll be
what's so wrong with
what
it?
I got for a while. It's just got a terrible look to it. To me, I'm very much a visual guy, and it just looks funky. And the new hydration in the tail, I just don't know how that would work for me. I love the internal hydration that they have now because it's super easy to refill on the ride. I'm sure it's more aerodynamic and, for the upper echelon of the sport that, just is looking for those, few extra watts of, cutting through the wind, it might be worth it to them. But I'm actually kind of glad it's not something I'm drooling over because I don't really need to buy a new bike right now anyway.
So what you're saying is you should get that for your birthday.
Yeah, it's the fox and the grape syndrome. I just don't. I think it's those grapes are sour, so because I can't get it. But hopefully they come down. Right now they're the price is like $14,000 because they only have a limited edition single model. They're only doing 500 of them, but they've got to come down with it. Like they did previously. They'll have a pro model and a comp model, and Yeah, because that's yeah. Although I did love the clear one. I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures of the model they had. The frame was clear, and they had the bento box that's internal to the frame now, just stuffed full of Skittles. So I'm like, I'm good with that. I like that.
Wow, I did not.
Made me laugh.
I didn't see that
gummy
picture.
Ones in there. It'd be perfect. You know?
I didn't see that. So, how was check-in there?
Check-in was different. You definitely feel more like a rock star there. They kind of bring you around, and you look forward to getting your bag, your Kona backpack, and I mean, it's right there at the King Kamehameha, so it definitely felt a little more special. That and your bike check-in day, that was pretty awesome, I would say.
Wow. So after you get all checked in, you get your nice little Kona edition backpack, the 40th year anniversary. What was it like for you knowing that, okay, the time is approaching for you to actually get in the water and race here? Was your anxiety level going up, nervousness? What was this like for you?
Actually there was like this really serene calm. I felt really good about it. My nerves were worked out from the swim. It felt really good. I slept well the night before, which a lot of times I don't. It felt really nice. It felt right. It was going to be a good day. And, I had, I should go over with you sometime, or if you want to talk about it. I had lots of little minor challenges, race week, with my bike and, stuff like that, that could have really stressed me out, but I just let it go and just rode with it. And I knew that I would get it fixed, and there was nothing that a credit card couldn't take care of, because I wasn't going to let something ruin my race.
So what happened?
It was great. Oh, so there's a couple of things. I had ordered a sleeved kit from my coach's vendor, and we ordered it early. And because I was looking real forward to wearing a sleeved kit, because I don't have to change at all. And I wanted to represent my coach. I wanted, she got me through all these races. I felt it was almost as much of her dream as it was my dream to see me get through it. And I wanted to represent her and wear, her Miller Endurance kit during the race. And I got a call about a month out from the race from the supplier, and he's like, "This has never happened before." I'm like, "Oh, no. And basically what had happened is the order that he sent to the manufacturer, instead of sending the new order, it sent the previous order. So all the stuff that my coach's people had ordered got duplicated. And of course, nobody had ordered a sleeved tri-kit because they didn't exist back when we put that first order. So I'm stressed out about what am I going to wear. I have a uni tri-kit, which is not my favorite, especially swimming in the ocean. So I had to wear a rash guard underneath that, and it was a little worn out. So I had to deal with that issue, but it was fine. Like I said, I wanted to represent my coach, and I did have other stuff that I could have worn, but it was a special day for her as well as me.
Right.
And then get my bike from Tri-Bike Transport, and you go out for a couple of test rides, and man, I was feeling, my legs feel really bad. They feel real flat. I don't know what's on. It just feel really cruddy, and this isn't good. And my quads down low were hurting, and I'm like, man, it's almost like something's off. And I should have noticed right away, but my seat had gotten pushed down.
Really?
And I don't, who knows, in transport or what? I'm not sure what happened. I don't blame Tri-Bike Transport. Things happen. And so, yeah, noticing it was good. So I knew I needed to fix that. And on top of that, even though I have a checklist, I did not bring my external charger for my Di2 system. And my battery was low. So that was a little bit of a stress. And I put out a call on the Legacy Ironman group on Facebook for anybody that had a charger for Di2. And actually somebody immediately was like, "Hey, I've got one." And I met up with them, and I took it back, and I tried to charge it. And it was for an internal battery, but the specs say it should charge an external, but it didn't work. And so that was stressing me out a little bit. I didn't have enough battery to get through the race. And but I had another friend who was flying out to Kona Thursday and I gave her the code to get into my house and everything. So she came to the house, picked up my charger, my extra battery. And so I knew that I had somebody coming out that was going to have what I needed. But I had another friend whose husband works for, what's the bike manufacturer with the P5? Cervelo. He's works over at the mechanics tent at the Ironman Village. And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, he'll take care of you." I'm like, "This isn't a Cervelo, this is a Specialized." And she's like, "Don't worry, he's a great guy. They're there for everybody. They might say Cervelo, but they're there to help all the athletes." And I went over there, and they had an external charger, which was awesome. I mean, so they threw my battery in the charger for me. They grabbed somebody, and he raised my seat up. And I mean, it was like super fast, and I was so thankful. And I tried to get those guys. I was like, "Hey, can I buy you guys lunch? Can I go get you a six pack of beer or something?" And they were like, "No, it's fine. We're here to help you guys out." And I was really, really impressed with the level of service and how they treated me, even though I wasn't riding a Cervelo. And I must say, I was I even wrote something up on Facebook, just thanking them, because that was very cool. I can really appreciate that when you're there just to help, and it made me feel like a rock star, like I was important that day. So got that taken care of, which was good. So yeah, those were my main stressors, up until race day. And if you want, I'll tell you about race morning.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll get to that part. Okay. I'm sure. Now,
there's a little stress on that one too.
Yeah. So we'll get there. So the day before the race, are you wanting to hit a certain nutrition plan? What does this look like as far as the food that you want to ingest the day before your big race? Okay.
So for me, I'm not, my stomach doesn't really affect it or anything, but I wanted to make sure I got some good carbs in, some good protein. I didn't want anything too fancy. So we went out and we had breakfast that morning, some eggs and some rice. And then for dinner, what I wanted, some chicken and rice. So went to Bongo Ben's for breakfast and for dinner that time. Great place, by the way. Serves some killer breakfast there. And it's right there on Ali'i. So yeah, just made sure, I didn't really get to do much, the day before the race. My coach was there, so I couldn't sneak off and go do something I would, walk around the Iron Village or do stuff like that. I had to pretty much stay in the condo and just sit around, which, it's not bad. You would think it would be wonderful, but all you want to do when you're on a beautiful island is go be outside and do that. So, but yeah, so, nutrition wise, just as long as I loaded up on some carbs, I made sure I was super hydrated. I kept drinking Gatorade the days before. I don't do anything like Osmo or anything like preloading, that type of stuff, but, just making sure I'm well hydrated, and even in the days prior to that, I definitely was making sure I was getting my water in. Because, man, the island can take it out of you really quick.
So as far as the bike check-in here, you've already got your numbers on there. And they give you a little tag to put your number on and all this fun stuff. And when you go to the bike check-in, it is like a big event.
Yeah,
what was this like for you?
That's really cool, man. It's, because you get your own person. Every athlete's got a person that brings them through. So I'm getting through, and they have a lineup on the red carpet there of different vendors. And, if they see that you have their or whatever, they hand out swag to you. And it was funny because Cervelo was out there, and the lady that was handing out swag saw me and recognized me. So she made sure she threw me some swag. It was really sweet of her. And she wished me a good race. So that was pretty awesome. And, they bring you in, and it's different from any other Ironman. It's not like on a rack, where you hang your bike seat. It's a lovely thing where you put your tire in it, and they're very, very cautious. I mean, they don't want anybody messing around in there because this is the World Championship. They don't want you touching anybody else's bike, taking pictures of anybody else's bike or anything there. They're real big on that, and they want to get you in and out, as quick as possible. But they do a great job of showing you where everything is and showing you where, bringing your bags in. Because again, that's different from every other race. It's on a rack. It's really nice. It's super easy to get to. But my guy, I don't want to get in any trouble. They're not supposed to take time to let you take any pictures or anything, but he was awesome. He got some snaps of me by my bike. And he got a couple selfies with me, took a picture of me at the swim start. So they were kind of harassing him for doing that, but he didn't care. He knew it was a special day for him. So,
Right.
But yeah, it's you definitely feel, like a celebrity there. It's definitely a different feeling.
Man. So after you get your bike checked in, get your bags dropped off, what are you doing next as far as for the rest of the day?
So I mean, we walked around a little bit because that was was that Thursday when we did all that. Or no, I think that was Friday. That was the day before. So they, my coach and my girlfriend, they pretty much lassoed me and made me go back to the room and just chill out and watch some TV. Girlfriend gave me a light massage, nothing. She's a physical therapist and massage therapist, so she knows not to push too much, but just to calm me down. And it was really nice, just relaxing, and just hung out with my friends and people, and a bunch of people that I've known, some in the triathlon world, and just some of my lifelong friends came to the island to see me race, even though they didn't know triathlon. They just knew it was something special for me that I'd been working for, and it was pretty cool. They came over and visited, and there was one guy I didn't even know that he was coming. He snuck over. It was pretty cool, and I didn't expect him to walk in the door. I was like, holy cow, here's my buddy.
What are you doing here, man?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, holy crap. And they did a great job of not letting it slip that he was coming. So, I mean, it definitely made me feel super special that I had so much support there. A little bit of stress because, again, you don't want to mess it up. You got all these people there. And, I tell myself, even if I didn't, something bad were to happen, they don't care. They're not going to think any less of me, but still you put that on yourself that you have to get there. You have to finish. Everybody came and is supporting you, a little bit of pressure there, but it's good pressure in some ways.
All right. So the night before the race, what's the last meal before you try to go to bed early? Hey, everybody. I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast. And I just want to let you know that I've enjoyed having so many people on this show, and I couldn't really do it without your support. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, and being a part of what I'm doing. If you would, take a few moments to leave me a review over on iTunes. It would help me out tremendously, and enjoy the show. So the night before the race, what's the last meal before you try to go to bed early?
So that last meal for me was, again, it was that chicken and rice, a little bit of teriyaki sauce because, straight chicken's a little boring, but had extra rice, some iced tea. The caffeine really doesn't bother me much. And I think I was probably in bed by like 7:30. Probably didn't sleep until 10, but slept totally solid. Felt great. A lot of Ironman races, I don't sleep much. I can't get to sleep. I'll watch the stupidest things on television. But thankfully this time I was just in the right place. I was in a good place mentally, and all the challenges of the week felt like they were gone. And all I needed to do was, rise to the occasion the next morning and get out there and swim. And, as soon as I was going to swim, I would be, super happy. And then as soon as I got off the bike, I knew that, I could drag myself, 26 miles if I had to, as long as the bike got me through. No mechanicals or anything there. So, that's what was going through my head. I just take it one step at a time. And, it was a pretty restful evening. I felt pretty good about it all.
Nice. So to fast forward to the next day, you said that there were some issues in the morning. What time did you get up, and what time did you want to head down to transition? How far away from transition were you? What does this look like before you get to transition?
I'm trying to think. I think we got up around 4:30, and we wanted to be out by 5 because parking is definitely an issue there. Most of the shopping centers and everything are pretty understanding, and even though they generally will say don't park here, they weren't towing people. So they, of course, they wouldn't let me walk to the start. It was about 1.5 miles to the start from our condo. Drove me down, had to walk maybe a quarter mile. But yeah, definitely there early, and had to go get my numbers on and all that good stuff because they use the tri-tats. So yeah, I get there, stand in line, get my tri-tats, go to my bike because you got your morning bag. I need to put my my bike computer on my bike and put my nutrition on the bike and pump the tires and stuff. And and I ride a ship, so I have onboard, storage for water. And my between the arms water bottle is, basically attached to the bike too. So I didn't bring water with me. I got my powder to mix, but I didn't bring water with me because at every Ironman I've ever been to, there's bottles of water that you can go grab and take
gallons of water.
Yeah, gallons, right? So I figured, no problem. This is Kona. This is going to be great. And I'm trying to minimize how many steps I take, just trying to be, not do anything extra before the race. And I can't find the water. So I'm like asking people, well, where's the water? Oh, it's over there. So I walk over there. Where's the water? Oh, well, it's over there. And basically what I find out is they're pointing me towards where, as you're walking in from getting your tri-tats, they have water on the table for athletes to drink in little cups. And I'm like, can I get a bottle from you? And then they're like, oh, no, you can't have a bottle. I'm like, why not? And they're like, well, they're recyclable and we're responsible for tracking. I'm like, I'll give you my bike computer to hold on to. I'll bring you back the bottle. No, I can't do that. So I'm like, wow, where am I going to get the water from to get my bike loaded up? And if the transition area at Kona is huge. So I'm walking all over the place and I see some stacks of water bottles, like smaller water bottles. And I go up to the guy and I'm like, hey man, I really need, a couple water bottles. Can I get them from you? He's like, no, can't give them to you. These are for the volunteers. I'm like, really? I'm doing the race. I need water. And he's like, I can't give them to you because if I give them to you, then I need to give them to other people. I'm like, and I can't argue with them. They're just volunteers. I don't want to make their life difficult, right? They're told something and I can't get upset with them because, that doesn't do anything. So I had to, traipse out of transition and go find my girlfriend and go into the store that was right there, buy a couple of bottles of water and come back through and then go fill my bike. So that kind of stressed me out, got my heart rate going. And, I was a little bit irritated, and I would definitely let people know that we're going there, that is a possibility, that if you're going to be there and you don't have removable bottles, to make sure that you bring some water with you to fill.
That sounds like a complete cluster. I mean, every event that I've talked about here, except for this one now, there's like gallons of water in transition. Like you just go get a gallon of water and you share it among like the 5 or 10 people that are around you. I mean, you all don't need all of it, but whoever gets the last bit gets the last bit. And it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's water, right?
Yeah, you're going to drink it. And that's the athletes need it.
Yeah, and almost every race, I bring water. Just because, I don't know, I just do. I'm used to doing that. And this one time, I'm like, you know what? I don't need to bring water. This is Kona. They're going to have water there. I should have known better. I should listen to myself. But ultimately, it got resolved. It got my heart rate going, and got me a little ready for the start. So, and it wasn't, the end of the world. Got through it, and just one more, challenge to get over with. But after that, things went good. So I must say that was the last of it.
Man, so after you get done with all this, and you get everything ready in transition here, how much PSI are you putting in your wheels here?
I like to run 100. Some people run a little more, but I mean, the quality of the roads there was actually pretty decent. I didn't feel like it was that I needed to drop it, much more than that. And I am a little heavier, so I like to, have something there so I'm not killing myself with rolling resistance. But yeah, so then there was plenty of bike pumps there. There was lots of people, sharing them and everything. So that was good. I didn't have to worry about that, at least.
Just no water.
Just no water.
Man. So how deep of the wheels were you using?
I ran, what are the 404? So what are they, 60 millimeter deep?
I guess. Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And, some people will ride a little deeper. I like my 404s. They're a good all-around wheel, especially with, the fear of the crosswinds. I didn't want to have anything deeper than that in the front. The rear wheel, if I had an 808, I would have thrown it on there. But I was super happy with my 404s. They did great for me.
Wow. So as you're getting ready to leave transition the last time, when do you see your girlfriend and coach before you get in the water?
Yeah, so the last time I got to see him was when I got her to go buy me buy some water. But I didn't see him after that. it's pretty intense over there, and they really keep spectators away from that area. So I just went over, got close to the swim start, and kind of hung out around there. And the guy who actually had lent me his Di2 charger to try and help me out, he was there. He recognized me. So we sat around and we chatted for a little while, just waiting for them to let us in the water.
Wow. So the pro men go, the pro women go, then you head out in the water to kind of get situated. What was it like being in this start line of the World Championship? Because this is what everybody's watching on TV. And in years to come, people are going to be literally watching you in the age group start with everybody else. What was this like being there?
It was, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I was super jazzed at that point. Got in the water, and it's a deep water start. I mean, as everybody knows, and you have to swim out a couple 100 yards out to the start line. And I just, from the moment I got in the water, I was just energized, and I know I had a smile on my face. And I don't think it ever went away from the whole day. I never had a down moment, which was totally awesome. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm really proud that I'm there. I'm ready to get it started. And, I can't wait to cross that finish line, man. And I'm out there with everybody. And, I made sure I seated myself a little back further. And I figured, this wasn't going to be as good of a performance as at the practice swim. But I'll find somebody, I'll draft, and life will be good. And we'll just get it over with.
Nice. So if you can imagine a line of people from left to right representing the start line, looking down on it, where did you see yourself at?
So I was pretty far to the left. I was about 7/8 over, and a little bit to the back. There was still, a few people behind me. I was kind of surprised. And there was also a lot of people still on Digby Beach, right before the cannon went off. I'm like, man, you guys need to get your keister out here. You can't be 200 yards away from the start line before the cannon goes off. But I don't know if they were just, maybe some people were a little stressed to get out there or what. But yeah, it seemed like right up until the end, people were coming right up. And yeah, I just didn't want a ton of people in front of me because I know that I'm not a super fast swimmer, and most of the people there are pretty quick. But yeah, it turned out to be great. I didn't really get beat up or anything. The only time I ever really got pummeled was when the ladies caught up, and the fast ladies just rolled over me. It was fun.
Wow! So the cannon goes off for your day. What was your swim like, and were there any issues that you encountered during your swim?
So the first half of the swim is the best I've ever had. It was wonderful. I caught a guy right off the bat who was swimming a pace that's a little faster than I could swim if I wasn't drafting. I got on him. He wasn't much of a kicker, so I'm super close to him. I mean, literally, he was probably 2 to 3 inches of his feet from my face. And I was, he wasn't, scissor kicking or anything. I could swim my arms right on the side of his body, and he was moving, and it was great. I had to push a couple people away that were trying to take him, but he was mine. That was my draft guy, and he was cooking, and it was beautiful. I didn't have to sight. I could look at the fish swimming underneath me, and I was just super excited. And we get to the turnaround, and my poor guy just falls off. So I was really bummed because by that time, most of the men are gone. There's not many people to draft off of. And I was, switching around from different people, trying to catch somebody that was a quicker swimmer like he was. But I couldn't find anybody that was, perfect, but it was still fun. I kept hitting some poor guy's feet, and he kept stopping and looking at me, and it was hilarious. But yeah, when the pro women, or not the pro women, but when the fast age group women came, that was interesting because I tried to jump on a couple of their tails, and they just outclassed me.
Man.
But at the turnaround, I was on pace for like a 1:18, 1:19 swim. But when I got across the T1 line, I was at 1:31, so I was only a minute slower than I was at my practice swim with far less people, and I felt great. I didn't really kill myself. I swam to my ability, knowing that I had a long day ahead of me, and I made sure I took time when I got out. I rinsed off really well with the showers there because I just didn't want to chafe up. And got into the change tent, took off my rash guard, threw on my jersey.
What is a rash guard?
It's like a shirt that goes underneath, like you would wear them under like a wetsuit because you get a little chub rub on the arms there, and it just keeps it from skin abrasing skin.
Okay.
So I like even like an Under Armour shirt, something that's really super tight. That works too.
Okay. So in the change tent, what is the layout of this tent, and how big is this tent in comparison to other changing tents you've been in?
Actually, it was about the same size as most of the other races. I imagine that it's pretty crazy packed in there because all of these men are, at such a high level of swimming, and they're all coming out at the same time. So it might have been a little bit bigger. It's kind of hard to gauge. I wasn't spending too much time in there if I could, and but there was space for me in there. Again, I wasn't like dead last or anything, but I wasn't in the main pack. So there was people there to help me out. I got in and out of there pretty quick. Somebody handed me my bike, and I was on my way. And it was a good transition. I felt super happy, and I was looking forward to stretching my legs out on the bike.
Wow. So are you using any type of chamois butter or chamois cream to not have any discomfort on the bike? Oh
yeah. And it's the brand that I've been using for like the last 2 years. I found it at Boulder a couple of years back. It's called Squirt Lube. They make, chain lube, and then they make this chamois butter. It is phenomenal. I've never chafed since I've used it. It's expensive, but I put it on before the swim, and it lasts the entire race.
Wow.
I've never had to reapply. I don't use it in training because it is a little more expensive.
How much is it?
It's like $20 for a little tiny container of it, but I'd pay $50 for it because I always chafe, and this stuff is great.
Man.
I think it's out of like South Africa or something. It's but they have like a distributor in Boulder.
Wow. So as you get ready to go around, get your bike, put your helmet on, get out on the bike ride, what is your mindset for this bike ride? Knowing that you're going to be on the bike ride for, could be more than 6 hours, could be, depending on the day and what the weather conditions throw you. What was your mindset? So
getting out on the bike, my mindset was 2 things that I needed to focus on. No matter how good you feel, you're not allowed to go above 250 watts. And no matter how not thirsty you are, you need to make sure you hydrate. Because I pretty much told myself, if you don't pee once on the bike, you aren't hydrated enough. So that was kind of my marker. So, I mean, I get out there and yeah, I want to ride fast. I always feel good when I'm done with the swim, and I'm really working hard and being diligent to keep my watts low, to stay at my target. And, because it is going to be a day. I don't know what's going to happen out on the Queen K. I don't know what's going to happen on the climb to Hawi. And I need to be able to be prepared for, some bad times. And again, I thought that I would be out there and lonely. There was lots of people around. I actually passed some people, and I was packed by a few others, so it was nice. Hot, of course. Really clear air, though, which was, I think they said it was the clearest air they've had for the race there in many, many years. The VOG, they called the volcanic fog, was pretty well cleared out. But yeah, I just, I get out there and I just want to focus on staying, within my zone, because I want to be able to run when I get done with this. And I'm also thinking, please, bike, just get through this race. This was, I think it's that poor bike's 9th Ironman. And I had some challenges with my crankset a couple weeks before I shipped it out, where I had to replace them. So I was like, just hold on for this one more race. I promise I'll do something nice for you after you get back.
Don't fail me now.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, as long as I don't have a mechanical, I'm good. And, get out there, and it's amazing. It's very, I don't know, you can get in your own head out there because you're out in these lava fields, and yeah, you can see the ocean and stuff, but it's warm and it's kind of drab, and but I just focused on my numbers. I focused on smiling and, waving at people and, just genuinely being happy. And, I was trying to help some poor girl out that was having some mechanical issues with her DI2 system while I was talking to her. And I don't know if she ended up making it through the race or not, but, try to help her out. And, I was just feeling good. And I was a little bit worried about the climb into Hawi, and it turned out to be nothing to be worried about. It wasn't, steep as I had expected. And I felt good there. I did get a little out of my zone there climbing, because it was just, I felt like I was just grinding and I couldn't find a happy place. So for a little bit towards the top, I stood up and I was just stretching the legs out and putting a little more watts into it than I should have. But it felt really good. And, you hit that turnaround and I'm like, man, it's getting real, I'm getting close.
Right.
So
with this, what kind of power number were you wanting to hit for like an average or a normalized power? Did you have any type of goals like that?
Yeah, I was shooting for 220. Like I said, I was going really conservative. So that's like a 65% of my FTP. And, actually all the way up, I was a little below that. So I had a little bit that I was being good. So on the way back in, of course you got the nice descent coming out of Hawi. I really enjoyed that. There was a couple of grinders coming up through, on the Queen K. I just made sure that I kept my cadence high, and I was feeling good. And, I didn't go too crazy. I did push a little bit more on the back half. So, obviously, you got more descents on the way back into town, but my split was definitely negative. And I felt super good all the way into town. And, once I came into T2 and dropped my bike, I don't know how big my smile was. It felt so wonderful to be done and know that now it is fully within my own being to get to the finish line. Whereas I was relying on the bike a little bit there. I now know I can finish this no matter what. There's so much time left that if I had to like I said, if I had to crawl it, I'd make it. So it was a good feeling.
Wow. So to back up just a little bit, what did you put in your special needs bag?
All I put in my special needs bag was a CO2 cartridge and a tube. I figure I need to donate to, the flat tire gods, just to make sure they're happy. Cause, I've only gotten a flat at one Ironman, knock on wood someplace, please. It's all glass here, denied. But I always put one in. I don't usually need any nutrition or anything special because I can, get what's off of the course. And not being able to get anything back like the old days, it really discourages me from, being a little more prepared and having a few things extra in there. Because, I don't want to throw everything away because basically anything you put in there you don't use, it's going to the garbage or whatever they do with it. I don't know. You don't get it back.
They throw it away or the volunteers take it. That's pretty much it. So did you use socks for the bike ride?
Yes, I'm a tenderfoot.
Right.
I've probably mentioned it in the past, and had put on socks, fairly new bike shoes, which was not the smartest thing in the world, but they actually felt pretty good. Super pleased with them. And yeah, of course, by the time you get off the bike, you're so sweaty and, wet and everything that, and yeah, I did pee. So I was hydrated, of course.
Okay. So you have fun on the bike ride here, but did you look up and actually realize that, hey, you're really doing this at Kona? Like, this is why you did all the other races, was to be here. Did you look up around and take this in?
Oh yeah, trust me. It was it was there because, like I said, I could have went faster, but I'm enjoying it and being conservative and just soaking it all in, and the volunteers and the people at the aid stations and the other competitors and everything. I'm just just eating it up because I'm at the big island. I'm at the big show, and this is my one chance to do it and to enjoy it all. So yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man, if I'll send you some of those pictures and you can put them on there. I have huge smiles every time the camera guy got me. So it was a good day.
Wow. So as you're getting back onto the road here, or getting back to transition rather, what is it like whenever you start seeing people running? Because that means that you are within 10 miles of getting off the bike.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was, it's cool. I mean, it was kind of a wake up, that, hey, wow, there's a ton of people out there already running, but, I didn't care. And, I saw, Lionel, with his green kit and that made me smile and, just, it was good. I didn't mind that I was, coming in a little bit later than everybody else, but, yeah, the reality of, hey, I'm going to have to come out and run here soon is definitely hitting you. But again, it wasn't, like a lot of other races, I get kind of depressed about it. And you go through those dark times and, there wasn't a single one at Kona. It was wonderful. I can't imagine any other race being like that. It was positive from the first foot into the water to crossing that finish line.
Wow. So as you get to T2, are you doing anything to start preparing for T2, or are you just kind of enjoying the ride, going at your 65%?
So as I'm coming in T2, I like to lay off the water for, the last 20 minutes or so. And, the last 10 minutes, I try to spin a little higher just to get my legs, getting ready for the run. And, I pull into T2, hand off my bike. And for the first time at an Ironman race, I feel wonderful. I feel great. I feel energized. I feel ready to run. I, get my bag. I put new socks on, throw my shoes on, take my jersey off, and I tear out of there faster than I've ever done at any other Ironman. I think even any of the halves that I had done, I'm sure it had to do with, this is Kona and there's so much excitement built up, but I think, being so dedicated and diligent on the bike to not overdo it was great. I mean, I didn't have a terrible bike split. I was like a 545 or something, but a little slower than what I'm used to. But man, it was wonderful. I just flew out of there and I was running. I'm like, man, I got to slow down. I can't sustain this. But, coming out of there and, that the first climb and, it felt so wonderful. And I got to see my friends and my coach and my girlfriend. And it was awesome. I was so, so happy. And, ultimately it does hit you that, hey, it's a long day and you got to back off a little bit. But, yeah, for that first mile and a half, I was just booking. It was wonderful. It was great.
So this feeling that you had coming off the bike, how could you replicate this in the future, especially at Arizona coming up here in a few weeks?
So I think part of it was the liquid calories, I think really worked for me, making sure I'm extra hydrated. So I'm going to try that again. And I think maybe I should back off my watt target. At Arizona, it's not quite as hot normally, and it's not as much climbing. So I'll probably bump it up to 70, 72%. But I think as long as I can stay diligent and stay within my zone, I think that has a lot to do with how I feel getting off the bike.
Okay. Because, I mean, if 65% feels a lot better for you going into the run, that means a whole lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because who cares about the 30 minutes you saved on the bike when you gave up,
an hour
and a half on the run?
Yeah. So as you get out onto the run, what is the first 800 yards like on the run? How many people are there? What is this energy like? What is the atmosphere? What do you see and smell? What is this?
It's on when you're out there. There's just a ton of people. It's packed. But I'm so in the zone. I'm just ripping through there. I'm living, just large and I can't control myself. I'm just running like crazy. People are cheering and hollering. It's awesome. I mean, there's definitely killer support there. That's just, it's one of the most magical parts of it. I think it was coming out of T2 between that and, of course the shoot, but it felt pretty amazing.
Wow. So as you approach miles, say 5 through 10, how are you feeling? What is the atmosphere? How has your mindset changed on these miles?
So, after you come out of town and you end up out on the Queen K, which I'm thinking is, maybe that's about mile 7 or so. It's kind of desolate out there. It's kind of lonely. It's the rolling hills out there. You're out in the lava field again. It's hard to keep as much energy because you don't have people out there cheering or anything.
And I heard a rumor where they don't even let volunteers or spectators to go out there.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they're pretty strict in general. And, the aid stations were cool and they were super energetic and everything out there, but it's a little different. It's a little more, I don't know, plain, more vanilla. At a lot of Ironman, they have like themes and stuff at the aid stations and they do crazy things. It's very, plain and simple. And, I think they just want to keep it more race-like there, very organized and everything. But there's a little magic lost on the aid stations. And my one grouch, I think, about the aid stations is they only had one Porta-John at every aid station, which I'm used to like at least 2 at every other race I've been at. But can't complain too much. You're at Kona.
When the registration fee for Kona is more than what it is for most other races, you do expect it to have at least what the other races have: gallons of water in transition and 2 porta potties at every aid station.
You would think so. Maybe they have to use every single porta potty on the island. But yeah, it was a little stressful because ultimately you're going to need to use the can at some point, and for most of us, and if it's occupied, it's a long mile up to the next one if you don't want to wait. And normally, you have 2, so at least you have some kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. My energy started to fall off a little bit, and I wasn't pushing as hard, and I didn't really feel the need to kill myself there. I wanted to finish. I wanted to finish happy. I was enjoying it, Around that time, I probably did some more run walking. It started to get a little dark when we got to the energy lab, because they changed the course a little bit, and you run a little less through town, and you have to run a little further out on the Queen K now because of the way the freeway's been fixed. The entrance to the energy lab's a little different now, so you're out there a little longer. And
what caused the change to the run course again?
Okay, so the old freeway was like 1 lane in each direction on the Queen K, and they split it so you got 2 lanes in both directions now with a median. And the old entrance to the energy lab, there was no left turn into it anymore. And I think they actually ended up like blocking off that entrance, and they built a whole new entrance like a mile down the road, which was really nice. But it's not the same exact course as it has been in years past, but still, quite enjoyable.
Okay. So as you're approaching your special needs out in the middle of nowhere, what did you put in your bag?
Again, I did not put anything in my special needs bag for this one. I knew that I could deal with the heat. I knew what the aid stations were offering. I wasn't worried about being cold and having to have a sweatshirt or something in there. But about that time, right in that area in the energy lab is when it really started to get dark. And I was super glad that I carried a flashlight with me because somebody had warned me that, hey, it gets really dark down there if you're going to be out there a little later. And there's potholes and it's not very light. So it would be a good idea. And anybody that's going to be out there with a finishing time greater than 13 hours, totally recommend having a light because it was super nice. Because the roads down there in the energy lab were cruddy and it was super, super dark. So it was definitely a plus to carry it.
Wow. So before it gets dark here, did you see anything funny on the race course?
Anything funny?
Spectators, volunteers, other athletes.
The one thing that I did see, and I don't know if it was funny, but it meant a lot to me was when I was running, I saw, like, randomly, my girlfriend and my coach had gotten some sidewalk chalk and written in there, go Jarrett or whatever. And I mean, and there's miles and miles and miles of people's writings and stuff. And for me to look down and see that right at the spot that they wrote it was like magical for me. I mean, it was a nice kick. And I think they had written it in like 3 different places, and I saw 2 of them, which was amazing. So that was my good thing. I didn't really see anything too crazy out there. You know, some of these races, some people are screwing around a little more, but at Kona, it's very serious. So I can't remember anything off the top of my head where it was something that really made me laugh or that was kooky or crazy.
Okay. So what data screens are you wanting to look at on your watch on the run?
On the run, I pretty much just have distance, lap split, like my time or average for that mile, and my overall time. I don't worry too much about my heart rate because, again, I'm not running to my limit at this one. Otherwise, I would have definitely had a heart rate up, and just kept it simple. And every once in a while, I'd flip over to my the triathlon screen just to show what my overall time was, and I started to get it in my head that I needed to get under 14 hours, just because I really didn't have a goal. But as I started to line up, I could get under 14. And so that means I need to get there about 10 minutes before that, so I have time to screw around in the chute and see people and stop and give them a hug.
Hold on. You literally just said, I need 10 minutes to screw around in the chute. Did I hear that right?
Yes, because I don't know what's going to happen there and who's going to be there. I'm like, but I wanted to have a little bit of cushion. I didn't want to have to kill myself and scramble to get under 14 hours, which, again, I don't know why it makes any difference, but it just seems nice to be under an hour mark. So, so he wanted to make sure, because I have a really bad habit of when I get in the chute, I get blinders and I just fly through and I don't see anybody and I don't smack anybody's hands or, especially people that were there for me. I wanted to make sure that I was looking and I could find them and, make sure I enjoyed it a little bit, since, this was my one shot down the red carpet on Aliki. So,
wow. So as you actually make it to mile 20, 21, 22, you're getting closer and closer to town, but you're still so far away. How are you holding up physically? Any cramping, GI issues? What was your nutrition plan like at this point?
So my nutrition plan through most of the run was drink some water, drink some Gatorade, drink some Coke, and every other one, drink some Red Bull. So I had plenty of calories in me, and I wasn't having any cramping issues. I did take a handful of Endurolytes and T2. I took a handful in T1, and then halfway through the run, I also had like another 10, 12 salt pills that I dropped down. So I wasn't cramping or anything. I was still feeling pretty good. You start getting a little more energetic. You can kind of hear the announcer, Riley kicking it out that people are on Ironman, and you kind of start picking it up a little bit. So, and since I had been conservative during the whole race, I really started to feel a little better and started to pick it up a little bit and start getting excited that I was getting there and that the dream was finally coming true. It was great until when you come down the hill. I forget the name of the road, Polani, I think it is, or I don't remember. There's one little nasty little hill, and running down that with tired legs is not fun. And I would swear that the turnoff to go down to the road that's on Ali'i, it seems like it's much closer. And I'm like, it's got to be this stoplight. No, it's not this one. It's the next stoplight. No, it's not this one. It's the next. And so I was getting a little bummed at that point because you start picking up the pace and you're like, how long can I hold this for? And that's where when I turned on and I was just about to get to Ali'i is when I saw another Go Jarrett thing written and in the. I don't know how I ended up seeing it, but I saw it and it gave me a lot of energy. And, I got down to the chute and started just cooking down the chute. And I told myself, you got to slow down a little bit, got to enjoy it. I made sure I fixed up my hair, moved my bib into the right spot. I did forget to take off my glow necklace, because I got to have a good finisher photo, And I find my coach, my girlfriend. I stop and give them a hug, give her a kiss. And I make sure that I'm going down and I'm slapping hands with people and really enjoying it. And my face is about to crack because I'm smiling so much. And I saw some of my other buddies that had flown in. I smacked hands with them. And I should have slowed down a little right as I finished, but man, I tell you, I don't know. I couldn't control myself. I got to the top of the finish line and just kept going. I flew right through it and was running right past it. And Riley said, "Hey man, Jarrett, slow down, turn around, enjoy it." It was pretty funny. It made me laugh, and a couple of my buddies got it on video, so that was pretty funny. But it was awesome. I wish I had slowed down a little more, but I at least got to hear him say I was an Ironman, and you know, I knew it was done, and I didn't fail. I made it happen, and you know, it was it's a super happy moment, a slightly bittersweet moment, knowing that it was done. But yeah, it was awesome. I was super happy, and I was even hungry for the first time after a race. I went and slammed down a slice of pizza. It was nice.
Wow. So after you finish, what do you get to do next? What was your emotions like at this point?
I was pretty hyped up. You know, they walk you through. Again, you get a couple of catchers that take you to one place, then you get passed off to another person and to another person, and you feel really super special, and they make sure you get something to drink, and they get you to your, you know, where your medal is, because they don't actually give you your Kona medal at the shoot. You end up, I forget what those necklaces are called, but it's like got some shells and some beads on it. So you get that at the finisher shoot, and then you get your medal with your shirt. And, you know, I got to make sure I go over and, you know, get some photos afterwards, and, you know, go over and find the pizza, because, like I said, you know, normally I just can't stomach the thought of eating after an Ironman, but I was hungry, and I pounded a slice there, and I didn't want to make my friends wait too long, so I didn't hang around too much, and I went over and found them, and, you know, they were super excited and super happy for me. You know, they walked me up to the car and got a ride home, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, it makes me sad and excited, you know, just thinking about it, just talking about it. You know,
Wow.
It's an emotional day, man. You know, it's a lot of people cry at the finish. A lot of my friends that have done it cried at the finish, and you know, I didn't get to that point, but it still is it's one of those life moments that I will never forget.
Man.
Definitely.
So what's something that you learned from this race experience that you want to pass on to someone who hasn't done this race before?
So again, my big takeaways for this race are: if you have any qualms about an ocean swim, get out there a week early, do the Hoala practice swim. You'll be super happy you did. 2, bring water into transition. Even if it was there someplace, I couldn't find it, and I asked tons of people, and nobody would give me any. So bring some water. Make sure you go through your checklist when you pack for Hawaii. You know, there's only so much there on the island. You know, generally you can, you know, when you're in the States or at a big venue, you can go buy whatever you need. There's stuff there, but some strange stuff you might not be able to get. So double check your checklist. Make sure it's there. Check your bike super well when you get it, you know, because I'm sure you flew it in there, or you put it on Tri-Bike Transport, or you shipped it. You sure can't drive it over. So definitely check it out, you know, during your couple test rides. Make sure everything's right. Maybe, you know, mark your seat post just to make sure everything's good. And like, for the biggest thing I learned for myself was I'm gonna try more liquid nutrition from what's provided on the course. You know, if you can stomach that, I would say go for it. You know, never, you know, try to change something on race day. You know, being able to adapt and, you know, going with nutrition really helped me. It worked for me. You know, I could have stuck with my gummy worms, but it was a mess. So, you know, but if you got the stomach for it, use what they got on the course. But ultimately, you know, the biggest thing for if you're going to go to Kona, make sure you enjoy the race. You've already done the hard work to get there. You know, the Kona qualifying, I think, is harder than this race is. Enjoy it, man. You know, I'm sure people ever wants to get on the podium and everything, but you know, soak it up, man. You're on the Big Island. You're at the World Championship with the best. You know, with the best of the pros. You know, and that's where, you know, Ironman was born in Hawaii, and you know, just enjoy it. You know, and you know, whether you get the time you wanted or not, you were there. You know, enjoy it. Just be happy that you got to go and do all the events. Do the Parade of Nations. Do the underwear run. It's
Did you do the underwear run?
Absolutely. Even though I looked terrible, I didn't care. I wouldn't did it anyway. But yeah, I mean, everything that I could participate in, I did. And then, do some of that island stuff, They love our tourist dollars, They're hurting right now because of, the volcanic activity. So people were, like, super thankful that we were there and spending money. And, it's great, I'm sure it's a mixed bag for the residents there. It's terrible having us all at one point, one time, super busy. But, it does help the economy there. And, it's a good thing. I felt they got plenty out of me this time. But yeah, man, just enjoy it. I think that's my big takeaway.
Okay, so if somebody qualified for Kona and is going next year, they paid the registration fee, but that's all they paid so far. How much should someone budget for a 2-person trip to Kona next year? In your
just if I had to ballpark it, I would say $6,000 to $7,000.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, depending on how you're getting your bike there, where you're coming from, in the world. Your plane tickets can be drastically different depending where you're coming from. But, and you're going to want to, enjoy yourself there. You don't want to be, super skimpy on a budget. You're going to probably end up eating out a lot unless you've got a kitchen in your place. And even buying groceries there is expensive. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. But ultimately, do I regret spending a single dollar there? Absolutely not. It was magical. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Wow. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how logistically complicated was this race for you to get there, race, and come back home?
It wasn't horrible. I would say it's probably a 6 or 7, as long as you're prepared. I think the biggest headache is getting the bike there. And, I've never had to ship my bike or fly it. I'm super paranoid about that. I've heard too many horror stories. So that's kind of been my rule of thumb is I only go to races where I can drive. However, Kona you cannot drive to, so you don't have a choice. Did try bike transport. I got extra insurance just to make me feel better. Ultimately, no amount of insurance is going to cover it when you get there and your bike isn't rideable and you have to try and figure something out. But logistically, I didn't think it was that bad as long as you were prepared. If you know early enough, I think there's plenty of places to stay. A lot of people are stressed out about that. Oh, I got found out 2 months before. Well, a lot of times people will book rooms and then, assuming they're going to qualify and then they don't. So rooms free up. So just, shop around and, I wouldn't wait if you didn't have to. As soon as you can get, some reservations, I'd say just suck it up and do it. And yeah, you might spend a little more, but go for it. And I would say, find a place if you can that's within, a mile and a half of the Ironman village, so you can do primarily walking. That way you wouldn't have to rent a car if you didn't need to. Ultimately we had enough people that a car made sense. But if I was going by myself again, I probably wouldn't get a car. I would just get a ride to the hotel and, just suck it up and walk a little bit. I'm not too worried about walking in race morning and, getting a mile or mile and a half in, but it was fun. I didn't think it was that bad. Of course, I didn't have to do all the planning. I think just what I did have to deal with, it was nothing more difficult than any other race.
Okay. So we covered quite a bit about your race. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, for those people that are doing legacy, stick with it, man. If you're close, don't lose heart. You'll get there. You might have to wait a year or two like I did, but it's worth waiting for it, and don't feel like you don't belong there. You've earned it. Anybody who does 12 Ironmans, they're pretty solid in my book, especially, you have to get 12 finishes. That's not an easy feat to do. Some of us are not physically blessed or have all the time in the world to train like a pro does. So being able to race there with all these top athletes and professionals is quite magical, and you belong there. Don't think you don't belong there.
Awesome. So I know you're doing Arizona here in a few weeks, but what's after that?
I don't know. It's kind of like a little depressing. You know, I've had this 8-year journey to Kona, and I don't know what to do next. I'd like to do Challenge Roth at some point, just because I think that's the closest thing to Kona and the feel and the energy. I've thought about doing the Leadman series of races in Leadville, which, you know, is quite crazy. That's one of my only DNF races ever, was a 50-mile run there. So thinking about doing the whole Leadman series is a little crazy, but I might convince myself. I have a buddy who might do it, and if he does, I'll probably suck it up and just go for it. But that's a heck of a lot of training, and I don't know if I really want to do that or not. But yeah, you know, I think I'm going to do some bike races next year. I'm going to do some stuff locally. There's a possibility of doing Ironman Wisconsin next year, or I might sign up for Arizona again. But I better figure it out here pretty quick because Arizona sells out super fast. So I'll have to find out, you know, within the next 2 weeks what I want to do. But yeah, it's a slight letdown. But you know, I just got to find something else to energize me and find some new path, new dream, and you know, maybe I'll do an Ultraman or something crazy like that. You know, who knows?
Wow. So now that Kona's come and gone, what's on your bucket list next?
Oh, you know, the one race that I've always wanted to do, it's been on my mind for a long time, was the Comrades Marathon in South Africa, I do believe it is. It's a 52-mile.
56?
Yeah, you know it. 56. 56?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list one day.
Well, why not 2020?
Are you going to 2020?
It's a down run. 2020, and it's the 95th anniversary.
You know, I might have to do something and make it happen because I don't know what it is about that race that attracts me to it.
The hard cutoffs.
But it's in my mind, and it has been for a very long time.
It's been on my bucket list since 2005.
That? Well, you know what? Hound me. And let me know what I need to do, and maybe we'll make it happen in 2020, brother.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be pretty cool.
That's what I'm gearing up towards right now, and it scares the shit out of me.
As well, it should. If it was easy, though, everybody would do it, and it wouldn't be worth doing. So, you know, it's the tough ones that we remember. You know, even with all the races I've done, I don't remember my fastest races. I remember the ones that were the hardest and the most difficult, where I suffered the most, and those are the ones that are memorable to me.
You know, I had the pleasure of doing the Marine Corps Marathon this year with a guy named Morgan Lattimore. He was from episode number 3 or 4, I think it was. And it was really amazing. He's a Marine, active duty, master sergeant in the Marines, and we ran the entire Marine Corps Marathon together. Like, we didn't really care about time, and it was just an experience, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. I love those kind of races. That's especially when you're with somebody else, it means more.
It does. See? Comrades. See? Just saying.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So to kind of wrap up here, how can athletes follow you, man?
So I did finally set up an Instagram account.
Uh-oh.
Only because of Kona. So I think it's just Jarrett Wyatt. And I also did an Instagram for Lucky Cat Racing. But you can catch me on Facebook, same ones, Jarrett Wyatt, and Lucky Cat Racing there too. So, yeah, and I still owe a race report. I'll put that out on Lucky Cat Racing here soon, which, you know, you probably got most of it in this interview. But
well, you can just copy the embedded and send it over there and call it a day.
There you go.
Let them listen to it versus read it.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely, I'll make sure I attach you over there too. But yeah, it's, you know, that's the main way to get hold of me, or, you know, I respond just about, you know, if anybody puts anything up, I'm a social media kind of junkie a little bit, so I like that stuff. Nice. So, I mean, that's how we ended up meeting, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with Oceanside, then Boulder, now Kona. Man, what a year.
Oh, yeah, Oceanside, St. George, Boulder, Kona, and then Arizona. What is wrong with me?
Gosh, I don't know. Man, so to wrap up here, I already know what your definition of a perfect race is. I know your ranking of things. So I'm going to ask something new, being that this is your 3rd or 4th time on here now. And that's, how do you know when it's your time to not race anymore?
When it's not fun anymore. To me, I don't do this to put bread on the table. I do this for fun, for camaraderie. And the day that racing is a chore and I don't enjoy it, why am I paying to do this? Why am I out suffering day after day training? You have to get something out of it. I mean, yeah, you get fitness out of it, but if you're not getting some positive mental, feedback from it, and if you're not happy, if you can't race and smile, man, I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it. You'd have to pay me to do it then, and I'm paying them to do it. So, yeah, I mean, short answer, when it's not fun anymore, don't race.
Awesome. Well, Jarrett, it's been great. I look forward to seeing you at Arizona or race at Arizona. I'm not going, but definitely going to be tracking you along the way. And I look forward to hearing about how Arizona goes, man. I don't really have that many more interviews left to do this year, hopefully. I'm edging up the way to 200 quickly. And just to kind of give back to you a little bit on the episode here, what are a few questions that I can answer from you to give back to you as far as what I've been doing along the way?
Reiterate that. I'm not quite sure what you're...
So to give back to you, I mean, I've almost have 200 interviews so far. To pick my brain a little bit, what are some things that you would like to know that I've learned along the way?
Okay. I would like to know, if you throw together like a cheat sheet of different races, where people were, that's good on the episode numbers. I'd love you to document some of the good, crazy nutrition stuff that you've heard that works for different people, because everybody nutritionally is very different. I think that would be kind of really cool to hear about. I would also like to know about some of these like oddball races, like Comrade. I know you have an episode or two on that, but there's got to be some other bucket list type races that aren't super common that I think would be awesome to learn about. The Arctic Marathon or something like that. Or even learning. I don't know if you've done any disabled athletes or anything. I love hearing about what they've done and how they've overcome adversity, and because then it makes it feel like, man, I don't really have anything to complain about when these guys are doing it without a limb or with this disease or anything like that. So that's always a positive. But ultimately, brother, I want you to just keep doing it. I'm looking forward to when you write your book, and because I'm sure you've picked up a ton of little crazy oddball things from a ton of different people, and I'm sure there's a ton of little things in there that it's going to catch for and be helpful for a lot of people. So I don't know. I mean, there's not one specific thing I want to know. You pick up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been great, and I look forward to following you, man. Absolutely.
And I have no idea how Arizona's going to go. I mean, 5 weeks between Ironmans on a guy that's not, a lifelong athlete. That should be interesting. I have done, like a half and a full pretty close to each other, but never this full as this close. So it might be a long day out in Arizona, but I expect to finish, and life will be good.
Yeah. Well, have a good day, and we'll talk soon, okay, man?
All right, brother. Have a great one.
You too. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.